Good evening. Thank you for joining us for our auxiliary supplemental Board of Directors meeting. Today is Wednesday, June 26th, 2024. And tonight on the call, we have myself, Susan Byrne, First Vice Rick Gann, Second Vice Donna Sims, Treasurer Jody McClellan. We have Directors Jerry Scheit, Jillian Ward, Jan Weeson, and Ann McCabe. And we have a special guest tonight. Of course, Kala, I'm sorry, I tend to always forget Kala, and I surely do not intend to. Kala Jaco, our Executive Secretary, is also here with us. And to go ahead and get our meeting started tonight, we have a presentation from Jenna Wethington on the Sponsorship and Fundraising Committee. So Jenna, I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to you.
Alrighty, thank you, Susan. Like she said, my name is Jenna Wethington. I'm pretty recently have joined ASCA. I got my first Australian Shepherd puppy last fall. Had Aussies before, but none were well-bred or anything like that. So this is kind of my first dip into the whole world. So I joined the Sponsorship and Fundraising Committee and kind of took over the affinity marketing program, looking at some new ideas we can bring to the table, as well as discussing in Instagram and creating that. We wanted to bring that to you tonight. So I've got a presentation that's going to kind of cover both of those things. Give me 1 second. I will share my screen. I think got it right here. Let me know if you guys can see this. Does that work? Oh, and I'm like way into the slide now.
Yes, we're good.
All right. So kind of just as I said, this is going to, I'm going to start here with the partnership overview and then move into kind of pivot over to the Instagram side, how I think that will benefit the club as a whole, but also kind of weave in the parts that the affinity marketing program could have a benefit of. And so really that's kind of what the agenda is tonight. Take a look at what we've got currently going on and some stuff that we could explore further. And we kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts on what an Instagram could look like for ASCA and if it would be beneficial to our group. So with that, I'll move forward. Again, you guys have probably all seen this screen. Our current affinity marketing partners, Dr. Busby's, Hemp My Pet, Karanda, FitBark, and Furbo. We've had several meetings discussing. We don't have a lot of profit off of this thus far. And so we know it's supposed to be supplemental, but we really think that there's room for expansion, one on the marketing of this, but also potentially on the products we offer. So when I came in, I thought of some new ideas and I've worked with our whole group on a few different ideas we've had. So that leads into kind of the promotion strategy we want to take going forward. I know that a lot of times that obviously we don't want to put more on the staff's plate. I know Kala said she runs the Facebook page and a lot of this is her doing work on top of stuff she's already supposed to be doing. So we want to try and find ways to simplify it across our social media platforms. More testimonials from either generic dog owners or specifically Aussie owners. Use more photos, less wordy posts, different things like that, that kind of play more to the visuals rather than words, because that gets people's attention a little bit less. This is a big one, and that would be identify some new partners that are in higher demand for our members. I'll return to this in a second, but that has been something that came up the last couple meetings about how maybe some of these products, a lot of them are maybe one and done type of purchases. Karanda beds, for example, or a Furbo pet camera. You're not buying those very frequently. So trying to look at different products that maybe have subscription services that we could benefit from each time, or just things that we buy more frequently in general. But like I said, I'll return to that in just a second. But another part of this program that we think has been kind of falling behind is that many of the members don't really know how to utilize the program. They may get the link or they see, Dr. Buzzy's pop up on their feed and it is something they want to order. They do order it, but then they don't actually go through our link. And having maybe a video explanation or just more information for them, a guide on how exactly to order these products that will also benefit ASCA. And obviously we do have the links there on the page and that connection, but sometimes I think people see that, and then an hour later they go back and they Google it, and that's how they figure it out. So we need a little bit more of a direct approach if we can find that, to get people actually using those links or associating it with our group. And so another thought on that, and this will be explored further, but is maybe if we're able to have these companies use codes instead of some of this. That's kind of a topic for a different time, but we thought that might be a better way to push this stuff forward. And then kind of the point of today, creating an Instagram page to really reach a new demographic, or kind of get in front of maybe the same demographic a little bit more often with more a fun approach, which is kind of what our idea was. So this, of course, would have benefits to the affinity marketing program, but we would hope it would extend beyond that as kind of the things that we've taken away from it. I'll return to that, but back, like I said, we wanted to look at expanding these partnerships. These are just a couple ideas. I actually, talking last week, I believe, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, with our group, there is a database that I think a lot of the current members weren't aware of, that has a lot more partnerships or partners that were never further explored. They were set off to the side. And that's something that I think we're going to try to take a look at here in the next few months, to identify some of these new partners that may be a better fit for what we're looking at as far as these products, like I said, that are ordered more frequently. Something that comes to mind of these last two, these are pet food, either brands, or PetFlow is similar to Chewy, a much smaller business. And they do carry a lot of the brands that members, at least in our group, have said they use. So the greater ASCA group probably uses as well. Some of the big names, but also some of the smaller ones that maybe you can't get at your local pet supply store. So things like that, where people are often making orders with a company like Chewy, that could easily transfer over to a company like PetFlow and still get similar deals, as well as benefiting ASCA as well. I think with these, there's also potential to split the difference on, ASCA gets 5% of the return, and then the customer gets 5%. So there's more of a benefit or a buy-in on the member/customer side. And then ultimately, I know this was a goal of Cynthia's, is that she really would like for us to have either an Amazon storefront or be a part of the associate program. We all use Amazon, for better or worse, in our day-to-day lives. And it would be a really nice addition that we can flow. If people order through that storefront, a percentage gets to come back to ASCA. Again, that's not something we've explored too far, because I think we want to get a handle on these other partnerships first. But once we figure that out, I think that would be a great next step if we're able to get there. All right, so now I'll pivot a little bit, I'll try to tie this back together, but we are looking at our options for creating an Instagram, because kind of that tie back to reaching a larger market for the affinity marketing program. But we've talked, I think last time we met with Calla too, we talked a little bit about, we want this channel to be the fun stuff, I guess is what you'd say. And for better or worse, the ASCA page on Facebook needs to be full of a lot of information for members. There's announcements, there's all sorts of information that is necessary for the group to be successful, but it doesn't have as many, fun pictures and highlights as maybe we could bring to the table with something like an Instagram account. So here we highlight, photos and videos are the primary focus, obviously, on Instagram, if any of you are on the platform. Short form content, things like that definitely, I would say, geared towards a younger audience, but also I think most people that are on Instagram, they go there for more entertainment purposes. And so we thought it might be a fun place to share content from ASCA or affiliate clubs, to just get more people talking about ASCA or get excited about events, different things like that. This next bullet there is kind of utilize the power of the quote unquote influencer culture. So I know you'll see here in a few slides, my breeders on Instagram. I know several other accounts or breeders or even owners who show or do agility, all the different events that are active on Instagram. If we kind of are able to reach them and they can share ASCA content, it gets the word out further than just our little small little world. And so people will have more incidental contact with the group, which we all know an Australian Shepherd is a really popular breed of dog, but that doesn't necessarily translate to them being involved with our association. So the more incidental contact, and we can bring people to that maybe are already aware of Australian Shepherds, but not necessarily, all the fun stuff that can entail. I think that would be a really good benefit as well. And lastly, lastly, like I kind of touched on before, provided it's an outlet to share these fun stories and talk about club events. Again, just getting people excited to come to things, or about having their Australian Shepherd, and all the great things that come with that. So kind of to my point, I stole all her content for this, but this is my breeder's page and kind of some of the things she shares. And I was kind of using this as a baseline of different things that, the association could talk about, either highlights of certain dogs, doing different events. You'll see on the next slide, national specialty coverage, all sorts of things. People love to see fun videos and all that. And coming from the association would be pretty cool, I think, to highlight either members or breeders, just all of the like. So I kind of highlighted that here as far as content ideas. Day in the life was one of them. Breeder interviews and spotlights, Hall of Fame dogs. I know we do the stock dog and like the foundation stuff, but kind of expanding upon that concept and looking at even some more current dogs that are either showing or doing events, trialing, all that. Finding an ASCA puppy. I know there's some information about that on the website, but again, creating that more fun content that engages with new people, as well as talking with affiliate clubs specifically. I know that's a big thing, is people maybe aren't aware of, what their local club is and what events they put on. So giving them an opportunity to highlight, what they've got going on throughout the summer or different events, all that. And then another idea was kind of all about, so any highlights on, what is a stock dog trial? What are they looking for? Trying to talk with some of the experts in those areas and discuss with the broader audience what they're actually doing. Again, just to get more eyes on what ASCA's up to. And then I think I just mentioned that, but the national specialty coverage, highlighting some of the winners or the dinners, everything, things that are going on, again, to get people excited about what ASCA is up to. And then I'll tie it back in. So how this can kind of tie to that affinity marketing program, I think, is because, one, I think I highlighted it back there at the beginning of the PowerPoint. These people and these businesses, they are on Instagram. They're active on their social media, and they already are putting out content that is very easy for us to share with our followers if we're on this platform, or we can create more interactive content and post it to our own Instagram page. And then it's an easy jump to that next page. We can tag them, things like that. Maybe it's a little bit more accessible. I know we were talking a couple weeks ago about when you are scrolling Instagram, at least for myself, if I see lots of pictures and stuff, I'm not looking on Facebook when I'm on there to buy things. I do stumble across things on Instagram and buy them probably more than I should. So just kind of a more approachable way to bring our affinity partners or bring the attention to our affinity partners, And again, with that kind of lighthearted content, that's more fun. As you can see, I use my dog as a model. And then I'll jump in to kind of something that I presented to our group a few weeks ago, as far as getting a gauge on who already is on Instagram for our ASCA members. And this is a rough draft. This is just kind of something I put in Google Forms to see if this would be something we could send out, or I could push out on my own social media to my group and try to get as far as we can, as to see who already is active on Instagram from the ASCA community, and what they would like to see, if this is something they'd be interested in, if it they see a benefit to them on their end. I can send this presentation out as well. I know there's kind of a lot here to go through, but essentially just trying to gauge who the people are, if they're already involved in ASCA, are they current members, maybe they were in the past, and then there at the end, is there content you'd like to see, or if you're not already part of ASCA, is there content you're interested in learning more about, all in an effort to kind of grow the community and put something fun out there for people to look forward to and see from ASCA. I think this might be okay. So I've got last one here. this left-hand side is just some options if we do want to push forward with it as far as Instagram names, like the logistics part of it. Unfortunately, Australian Shepherd Club of America is too long for Instagram, so that's why I have so many other ideas right there, but that can be a problem for a later date. A couple of the questions we had came up from the sponsorship committee was we knew that we'd have to go through official channels with ASCA. We don't want to put any more work on the group. Obviously, I don't know if there would be a way for us to come up with posts and then have those scheduled, and we can kind of set the content, send it over, get it approved, all that. That would be kind of the question for you guys. And then the kind of the tail end of that is if a team of volunteers could maintain the Instagram, if that would be a possibility. I know last time we talked with Kala, she had mentioned it being entirely separate from the Facebook that obviously puts out all the announcements and everything like that. There's a lot of official stuff on that side of it that I don't have, the whole knowledge of, but I'm more than willing to learn. And we don't want to step on anyone's toes, but we just thought this was a good idea. And overall, a way to kind of get ASCA out there a little bit more, but also on our side of things, help with the affinity marketing program. So I hope I didn't ramble or jump around too much, but that's, I think, all I have. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Hopefully, if I can't answer them today, I'd be happy to take them back to our group when we meet next week and kind of see where we can go from there.
Great. Thank you for a really good presentation. So I really like this idea. I'm not an Instagram user, but I could be. I know that it is a very popular social media platform. And does anybody have any questions for Jenna, or any concerns or any comments that you would like to go ahead and share with her? Why don't I just go down the line so that we can make sure that everyone has an opportunity if they would like to ask any questions, and we'll go ahead and we're going to start at Jan. Do you have anything you'd like to add or any questions?
I don't think so. Are they pursuing other? She talked about pursuing other things, so they're just started pursuing other companies or other markets. Is that correct?
Yes. So that was just, I think, the last couple of weeks. I believe it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. We learned of a database that we didn't know existed, I guess, for the majority of the members, that there was an extensive list that had been narrowed down, and we didn't end up going with any of those partners. So I don't even know if I think we've gotten access to it, but at least I have not been on a call where we discussed it. I did miss our last meeting. Was that last week, Jill? So I was out then, but I think it's in the process. We're going to try to vet those and circle back to some of those people we had talked to before.
And I am also not an Instagram user. I've been on it and usually disconnect myself. So you need more education for us older folks.
No,
Thank you. That's it.
Totally understand. I know it's new. It's new, and it's an extra thing for some people, and for other people, it's their main, form of social media. Like I said, sometimes it's geared towards the younger generation, but at the same time, there's plenty of people that are using it that don't like Facebook. It's all over the place.
Great, thank you. David, did you have anything that you would like to add or any questions that you'd like to ask?
No, I think it's a good idea, and I think we could move forward with it. I too am not an Instagram person, but I do have an account, and occasionally I chat with my niece and look on a few things, or talk about it, but that's about all I do.
And I know, Kala, and you can tell me the logistics of this too. We talked about, obviously, Facebook and Instagram share the platform. You can share things back and forth pretty easily. If it would add to the confusion, especially if we want to gear it towards this kind of, fun stories and announcements and all that. We don't want to get in the way of the ASCA, the important announcements. But if we wanted to have something set up where it was, ASCA's Instagram, but also it fed into Facebook for people like yourself who don't really use Instagram, but maybe you'd like to see the fun pictures or the testimonials or the stories that don't normally come up when an ASCA post hits your feed. I don't know if that would make sense, but it was we brought it up last time we discussed this. So that's a potential option as well to kind of make sure we hit everyone with the fun stuff and not just keep that exclusive to Instagram.
Great, thank you. Jill, I'm going to come back to you at the very end. Jerry?
Well, first of all, thank you. That was a very thorough presentation, and I'm very much in favor of this. I think that it diversifies and reaches out to all groups, all ages, as we go across everything. And that's what's going to be needed to promote ASCA. So I am in favor of this program.
Great, thank you, Jerry. Anne?
Thanks so much for the presentation. I am on Instagram.
Good to hear.
Yeah, it's my dog, not me, but she is an Aussie. One just like tiny little thing that I noticed that you said the questionnaire draft that you had done, that for the questions you wrote, are you a breeder, is like, do you have a breeder account on Instagram? That kind of narrows it down. I assume you want all people, even participants.
Yes, yes.
And so I think maybe making that a little more general, just saying, are you an ASCA member? Do you have an Instagram account?
Yeah.
So,
and I think that too, especially like, I think there's plenty of, even like junior handlers or stuff that maybe aren't breeders, but they're super involved in the community. I know I follow them, I guess, on Instagram.
Yeah.
So that's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. And most people know I'm on Facebook and Instagram way too much. So, yeah, I may end up helping a little more, but thanks so much.
Thank you. I appreciate the call out on that. I didn't think about that.
Good job. Thank you, Anne. Jody?
Jenna, thank you so much. This is really wonderful, and I'm very excited about it. And please forgive me for going back to basic stuff, but I am old, and I can only handle Facebook. But so I'm hoping for the people that aren't on Instagram, like myself, if you could give me a little tutorial. I flipped through Facebook. I flipped through Facebook Reels. So is Instagram just pictures? Is it videos? Where does TikTok fall in this whole thing? And so just a little basic information about Instagram would really help me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say, like, so for example, the Facebook Reels, I believe, is all fed from Instagram Reels. And a lot of that, like I mentioned, with the almost dual accounts, I want to call them. And I don't know the ins and outs. I don't run something that goes back and forth, but I know it's possible to essentially mirror your Facebook page to your Instagram page. But yes, to your point, Instagram is essentially, for the most part, those reels, even regular video posts, they do what they call stories. So they live for 24 hours, but it's all picture based essentially. So most short form content. So pictures and videos, all probably under 2 to 3 minutes, depending on what you're looking at. But I will say it's run very similar to Facebook because they're both owned by Meta, or however that works. I don't know the details, but they do kind of cross over quite a bit. But I don't know if that answers your questions, but that would be something we could kind of cover, how to look on Instagram and also to look on Facebook. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that mirrors each other. So it's pretty easy if you know how to work Facebook to figure Instagram out.
Would members be able to post a video to the ASCA whatever?
So that was what we were trying to, I guess that was our main question for the most part, was how would we manage the content? There is the option, like I was mentioning with stories, if you tag someone, the same if you tag someone in a picture on Facebook or whatever, if you tag someone, say, in a story, the account would be able to repost it. I would doubt we would want to give members access to, the whole account or anything like that. But I think I mentioned like takeovers, that's something that some accounts will do. And that would just be like for the day. they get to, you know, repost all their content on that they would post maybe on their main account to the ASCA account for that day, just to give ASCA's audience a picture into kind of what they're up to, whether it be a member or maybe an affiliate club, or, you know, a member at the affiliate club, all those sorts of things. But I would probably say it would be either limited to the board, or if there's a set amount of volunteers who want to run it. I had kind of told our team I'm happy to help out. I don't know if I can do every single post all the time or help schedule all that if we had a team to work on that. I think that would probably be how we would limit it down. So it wouldn't be everyone having access, but it would give opportunities for us to be tagged in those posts and reshare it so the broader community could see from members. I don't know if that makes sense, but
it kind of makes sense. And so I'm sorry, I have more questions, but
no, you're good.
If you had to project what the team, quote unquote, would need to be to manage this, what would you think the number would be? Or
I don't think it would need to be a lot. I would just think probably 2 or 3 people. Just it would probably depend on what their experience is with, you know, working with the app. But I don't think that it's an immeasurable. Like, I think I could probably manage it. I would just want to make sure nothing gets missed, and so it'd probably be 2 or 3 people would be good to say, you know, we scheduled this week out. And then there are a lot of I would say support like apps that you can schedule posts for a whole week. But as far, because then I think as we want to grow, and if we want to get stories from people or testimonials, I think you would need a few people just to make sure you're reaching all the different spaces in the community. And it would help just network wise if there was a few people who new, like I mentioned at the beginning, I'm very, very new. So I'm still learning even just about all the things we offer. So I think if there is 2 or 3 people with different levels of experience, that way we can cover our bases and make sure that we're not missing anything too important. I don't think it would need to be a ton of people, but to get up and running, maybe a few extra hands on deck. But once we have a good flow, I don't think it would take too much.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And I'm excited about it. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great. All right. Donna.
So I too want to thank you for a great presentation. I also want to thank you for being a new Aussie owner and jumping in feet first to ASCA and bringing your expertise, and it is greatly appreciated. We need more people like you. It feels like this committee kind of has new energy and has some new forward momentum, and I think that's fabulous. I think it's a great committee. I think the ideas, I know it's not had a lot of success so far that they expected, but I really think it has potential, and I really think that that going forward, like it will grow and it will turn into something really good. I love the idea of the Instagram, and I love that you've already figured out a way, you know, people that can manage it, because like you said, putting more onto the office staff or the people who are already doing so much is not a great idea, but it sounds like you kind of have all the details worked out. So we have talked many times about we need to get ASCA out there. We need to get our name out there. And I think this is a great opportunity to do that. So I am fully in support of it. And again, thank you for all of your hard work.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay, Rick.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add, but to thank Jenna for your time this evening and putting this together. It's definitely something that we should explore. I think it would also be good to get the membership involved and just let them ask questions that we might not think of. But once again, thank you, and I appreciate your time and efforts.
Thank you. Yes, I think that's important. I want to stress that what we want to do is make sure that we're, adhering toward what the membership wants. I think that's a big thing. Jill talked about it too, and maybe she'll mention it again. She wants people to be excited to see posts from ASCA and, get excited about all the things we've got going on. So we definitely want to make sure we're catering what we do to what's going to get the members excited about being involved too.
Great, thank you. And I too, I'm really excited about this. And even though I'm not an Instagram user, like I said, I'm pretty sure I can figure that one out. But I think the biggest thing for me that is really exciting about this is, yes, we are a generational group, I feel. And I feel like this has the potential of bridging that generational gap because we have those of us that are very comfortable in Facebook and we're kind of stuck in our ways. It also, none of us, I think, are unwilling to learn something new because just face it, if we ever quit learning, then we basically die. So I don't think any of us are ready to have one foot in that grave yet. But I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited about the list that you guys uncovered
Yeah,
that
thank you.
had been pared down that can maybe have some research there and potentially establish some new partners. That's really exciting. So thank you so much for being a newbie, Jenna, and jumping in with both feet and just bringing your excitement to this, I think is going to be incredibly beneficial. So Jillian.
I just I'm like a proud mother. I'm so proud of you, Jenna. She represents what we are lacking in ASCA. When you look at the engagement numbers in the polls, in our voting, the percentage of people who are involved on the IO groups and whatnot, they are part of the same generation that is on the board. And what we're needing is to reach the balance of our community. And Jenna represents a good chunk of that. There are others in between generations. And I'm very excited to say that we had some turnover on the sponsorship committee, and with change, oftentimes you find out that there's a lot of jewels there. So Jenna is one of the newer members of the committee. We have another gal that joined that represents an entirely different perspective than what's been presented today. And we have another coming on board. So I thank you for infusing the energy that we need, Jenna, and without a doubt, the expertise. ASCA needs to be relevant. It would be a shame to let it die on the vine because of the generations, the older generations and the generations that preceded us. We owe it to those founding people to bring ASCA into the relevant era. And this is one of the ways to do it. The database that was created by the initial committee has been unearthed and we will tackle it soon. I still want to give a shout out to the people that have been working tirelessly on the committee as well. Denise Patterson and Jean Roberts and Jeannie Mastic, they all individually bring a different wealth of knowledge and they're working on different parts and pieces. So I want everyone to be acknowledged on the team and thank you for sticking with me. Even though I forgot that last Tuesday was Tuesday and thought it was Monday, but we did get on the call 10 minutes late and it was very productive. So if anybody on the membership is listening, there is a place for you on this committee. We are looking for enthusiastic people that know how to manage, for instance, Instagram content, or if you have an interest in marketing or design, we will find a home for you. As long as you love Aussies, we will find a job for you. So thank you again, Jenna, and thank you for the board for being so open to this idea. It's time for us older folks to start handing the reins over slowly. And I feel very comfortable in this regard with you.
Thank you for your kind words, Jill. Too kind, probably, but I am excited about all this. So I'm glad I got positive feedback, and I'll definitely take some of this back to our group and kind of see where we can go. But
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jenna. And again, just thank you for your enthusiasm and your excitement. And I think that that's what's going to help this committee maintain and also to grow and just flourish. So thank you so very much. Thanks for your time this evening. And again, thanks for that presentation. And if you can send that to Kala, she
Absolutely.
would be able to then go ahead and share that with all the rest of us.
Awesome. Will do. Thank you again for your time. Have a great rest of your
Great.
night, guys.
Thank you so much. You too. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good job. Okay, and Sarah is in the process of joining our meeting because it would be great to have her input on what we're going to be discussing, and hope everybody had at least a chance to glance through what has been submitted. And we're going to move now on to this, what we determined at our spring meeting, that we needed to do an annual evaluation of the fee schedule. So I want to say thank you so much for Jillian taking the lead on this and putting this presentation together and sending it out to everyone. And everyone, that document should be in your Dropbox drive. So let's go ahead and pull that up. And I'm sure that Sarah's going to be joining us in just a moment. Jill, you have the floor.
Okay, are we waiting for Sarah or no? Did anyone text her?
Yes, ma'am. She said she's coming. It's a few minutes earlier than she had, than I had initially told her. I'd said 6:45, but she said I'm coming, so she'll be joining us momentarily, I am sure.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm relocating because my puppy is in the garage barking his full head off. And I don't think I'll be able to concentrate with him doing that. All right. Okay, so this is a lot of data here in one place. It is my personal hope that we can use this as sort of like a template for an annual review for this year and then all the boards to come, so that each year someone doesn't have to go through this, collecting all the information first. And just, I want to reiterate where this topic came from for me. When we were at the spring board meeting, we were in executive session, and a topic came up about fees, and we were, as it related to a salary item. And there was a vote made, a motion made, and a vote that took place during executive session. And it wasn't really intended for that to happen, but it in fact happened. And we heard the membership response to it and agreed on one particular item to basically back up. Let's do a comprehensive review of all of the fees, all of the historical data, and look at it as a whole, as a board, on a schedule that the board can expect every year, and the business office can expect every year, and the membership can expect every year. So a motion was made that we would review this as a board in June. And any increases that come from this review would go into effect the following January. That way it gives everybody ample time to prepare for it. The business office, it gives the board time to get questions to the membership or whatever review that is necessary. So what I have done here with the gigantic help of Kala, as well as Sarah, is we have listed the historical data for each of the fee items. And down below, you'll see it's in an Excel spreadsheet. My desire would be at some point, just create this as a template and make it available in the membership portal. along with the financial statements, so that any one of the members can take a peek at what's happened with the fees over a long period of time. So what I have here on the first tab is just simply membership. And it starts with, you can see the data, the age data, it begins with 2024 and it goes on and on and on. At least in this screen, it goes back to 2009. And then you'll be able to see when an increase has occurred. And in some cases, there have been no increases. For an example, the current full membership dues, the due per year is currently $15. And it has been for as long as anyone can remember. At least here we go back to 2009. So remember that when someone pays their dues of $50, that is comprised of $35 for the Aussie Times and $15 for the dues. So we have those listed here. To give you some sort of content for you to understand what the worksheet looks like, I have here in these yellow columns an example. So under column B, you have the current number of full single members and full dual members and so on. And then you have in column C, if there was for instance, if there was a $5 increase, what would that mean in terms of revenue, projected revenue for 2025? So these numbers in yellow, they're sort of like a worksheet so that you can see what it yields. So when we're talking about increases, it's not just for the sake of making an increase. The reality is the reason the board is visiting this topic is because the previous board, and I cannot speak beyond that because I don't have any innate knowledge of the workings of those previous boards, but the previous board did a really good job of going in and reducing expenses, eliminating unnecessary expenses. They really drilled down on the spending. This board did some of that, but this board is now going, okay, so last year they stopped the bleeding, but this year we've got to get this machine back in operating mode, in a healthy mode, right? So instead of us always being reactive, we're now being proactive. So for instance, we've added a bookkeeper, we've added a programmer. There have been, over the course of the last several years, there have been increases just based on cost of living. There have been salary increases, or we had to do office maintenance and put a new air conditioner in. So we're at a point to where we now understand what our expenditures are. We've cut everything down that we can. And now we're looking at adding the Aussie Times back into print, knowing what the expenditure is going to be. And so now it's time to visit our fees to determine if our fees are in alignment with today's economy and our current expenditures. So we can't always look at, cutting costs is very, very valuable, but one must balance this thing out to make sure we have longevity. And everyone remembers that we had a lot of money in savings until the unfortunate situation happened with Inventive. So the board is needing to look at, we have already addressed expenses to the best of our ability, and we will continue to, but now it is also our fiduciary responsibility to look at our income. You can't have one without the other and have a successful business. So what I have here is not my opinion. It is data compiled with a worksheet for the board to discuss. If the board can come to an agreement of what we think best represents the financial needs of ASCA, then we can discuss how to engage the membership. But for this exercise, there is so much data here that it cannot and it should not just go to a bigger community. We need to decide right now if we can actually come to any agreement on this. So anyone, I am welcoming anybody's input on this. Again, the column C are suggestions. I did speak to Sarah. Sarah is on the line with us. A lot of the information that we have thrown into column C has been through a little bit of a discussion, including Sarah, to make sure we're covering the nut. Please note in the bottom on the tabs, we have thrown in, for instance, AKC's fee schedule, UASA's membership dues and their journal subscription details. For me to find comps in this exercise is difficult because we are the single largest breed registry in the world, and there isn't really anything exactly like us that is a registry and a membership club. So I'm grasping at straws, trying to find some relevancy here for your consumption. But at this point, I think we can just go through each tab, and or if anybody wants to comment now and then we can go through the tabs. There's some tabs that we're gonna skip over until we get to the next topic. But I wanted to give the board and the listening membership at least sort of a synopsis of how we got to this topic and what we're trying to achieve beginning tonight.
Great. Thank you, Jillian. I almost wonder if it would be best to address each tab as we go through it, because it's kind of like fresh on our minds. And I don't know if anybody has any objections to that. Instead of going through all of them, this is kind of like if we can just touch it one time. So if no one objects, you guys go ahead and let's use this hand thing. I'm just gonna start by saying I'm not sure we need to increase the service membership by $10. I think I could definitely get in line with a $5 increase there, even though I'm fully aware that once you're paid, you do not necessarily have to be a current member as a service member in order to compete or to earn your titles. And that may be the offset on that. If we could do a smaller increase, but knowing fully well that we set, service members are not, I don't know if we want to do this. I'm just saying a possible concession. If we did not do a $10 increase, and then titles can all be printed. And that's what everyone has to know. If that title, if you want to purchase that title, there needs to be a fee because of the mailing costs associated with it. And I would also, I'm not sure that it's the right time to increase our lifetime since we just recently did that. Okay, my statements are done. Who would like to speak next? I can just go through every one of us if that's what we want to do. Or if you have something, you can just say, I have no comment. Okay. Rick?
Yeah. No, there's a lot of work that Jill did to put that all together, and thank you. The membership bailed ASCA out a year ago. And now I feel like the board has brought on a bookkeeper that is costing ASCA a whole lot more than what it did in the past. We've brought on an in-house programmer, which is costing a pretty penny. We brought in all new staff at a higher pay rate. We're adding, this discussion of short-term disability, 401k. None of that comes free. So I almost feel like that we're asking the membership to bail us out again by these increases. Not that I don't think that in time we do definitely need to look at it, but I don't know that now is the time. So that's just my initial comments.
Thank you, Rick. Donna?
Um, so obviously this is, I feel like this is long overdue. Like when we look at things, we haven't increased our fees for 15 years on some of these things. And ASCA is a business and we have to think about keeping up with inflation and keeping up. I mean, I have my own business and I've had to increase rates because hay costs more and fuel costs more and everything costs more. And if we don't look at ways to increase our income and keep things up with the times, it's just not going to work. We have added things in, but I feel like the things we're adding in are necessary things. They're things that we need to make the business run more efficiently and to accomplish goals looking down the road. Computer programmer, like we've got to have the computer. It has to be fixed. It has to be up and running and we have to be able to use it. So I don't feel like we're asking the membership to bail us out again. I do think that I would like to get membership input on this, but what I would hope is that if the membership is giving us their input on these ideas, that they would also be looking at the whole picture and they would be looking at our financials and they would be looking at ASCA, the business side of ASCA, not just the member side, and what we need to do to become strong and to go forward and to still be around 50 years from now and still be strong. Because we kind of have to look at the big picture to really understand what needs to be done or what shouldn't be done. So I would hope that the membership would really delve in and look at everything so that as they're giving us their input, they have all of the information. Because once you do, I think you kind of look at things a little bit differently. So those are just my thoughts.
Thank you, Donna. Jody?
I agree with a lot of Donna's comments. We have gotten back to a good place, not a great place, but a good place. We need to evaluate our income streams because it's getting to the point, even with the cuts and even with some of the additions to try and move us forward, which I would hope all of our members would want us to do, is to move forward and get better and keep good people that allow us to get your registries out in a timely manner, etc., that we need to look at the income stream. I don't necessarily, the work that Jill has done here, which is fantastic, and along with Calla and Sarah, just because they're putting in some suggestions doesn't mean that we have to do all of them today. We can implement some this year, we can implement some in 2025 or 2026. We can set the stage for that. In regards to the membership dues, let's take the full single, for example. I'm okay with a $5 increase, but I would like to wait until we have the computer system where we can separate that from the Aussie Times, if some people want to do it that way. As an example, we've talked about in the past. I would also like to, something else Jill and I discussed is the lifetime memberships from a accounting side. That lump sum that somebody puts in can only be used at that time. So we can't factor in, like the yearly fees. So I would like to suggest that we get rid of the lifetime. People can keep it that have it now, but it's not something that we offer going forward. Otherwise, I don't necessarily have anything against these suggestions. But again, that doesn't mean we have to implement all of them now. But I think it's a good way to look going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. Anne?
I commend Jill on her time getting all of this compiled, and Kala and Sarah for helping, obviously. One, as Jody just mentioned, right? Yeah, the separating out the Aussie Times and the membership can't happen right now. That'd be great. Even changing the amount to pay for the membership can't really happen right now. So I believe absolutely that the fees that are paid every year for everything, all the different tabs that are on there, they need to be looked at. Certainly if something hasn't increased for a period of time, that an increase is warranted. I also, and I know that we said that we would talk about it in June and then send it out to the membership. I really don't think we're going to get everything hammered out tonight. When the last time, let's see, whatever that date was, the last time there were those increases looking there. So it was 2022. So it was the spring meeting in 2022 when we did all of that. And it took hours and hours and hours for us to hash everything out. And I don't know that we can do that on a meeting. And then I also don't think that we should necessarily, that I think we need to narrow things down and present that to the membership. That not okay, here are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different tabs of fees for everything that is historic. And so I think things that we are thinking about, like if we all agree, yeah, there needs to be a small increase in the single membership fee. And yeah, there needs to be an increase in a small increase for the litter registrations. I mean, just the ones that Jillian proposed are between $5 and $10, $5 and $20 for service members. I mean, these are nominal increases. I think they're warranted, but I think we need to narrow down, because you give people too much information. It's just too much to process all at once. So I agree this needs to be looked at. I agree that we need to look at it yearly or twice a year. But I really don't think we can hash it all out tonight. As I said, it was hours and hours for us to go back and forth, and I want this increase and this increase and this increase. So, but then obviously we want enough time for the membership to comment before we vote on it, to actually vote on whatever increases we agree upon. So I'm all in for the process. One, I don't think it'll happen tonight. And two, we may need to kind of get a little more specific on the things that we're doing. But I mean, the increases she's saying are nominal increases and things that haven't been increased for a number of years. And there have absolutely been members I've seen on the members list that has said, oh, well, don't charge us for this. Just raise the fees for the registry. It's not that much. Raise the fees for the membership. I'd be willing to pay this. So I've seen that from the membership. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. So I don't have an answer, but thanks.
Thank you, Ann. Jerry?
First of all, thank you to Jillian and Sarah and Kala. That's a lot of work, and I do appreciate those numbers. While I know that the membership did bail out ASCA, and that includes all of us with that and affiliate clubs alike, but cost and inflation are a real reality, if you will. And sometimes with raising some of these fees, it can justify some improved services for the computer program and improve the quality of the services that the members get, along with that it will strengthen the financial stability of ASCA and build up the reserves so that you have them there for economic uncertainties, unforeseen expenses, and to retain office staff. It is well known that turnover in office staff costs more money than, say, some increases. Now you have to balance that out, there's no doubt, but maybe implement some of it, and have a transition phase, but it needs to happen. Otherwise, in my opinion, ASCA will be right back to asking the members to bail them out again.
Thanks, Jerry. David?
Yeah, some background, especially with the computer. If we had not added our specialists, we wouldn't be getting anywhere. They are working on and have had fixes for a number of things, but we always have more fixes. But the only way to get to some of these, like the membership separation, it's going to take some time, but they've already solved quite a few things. And the other thing with staff, if you look at their salaries, the board has done quite a bit, and Jillian and others were a big part of it. And thank you to Sarah and Jillian and Calla for all the hard work that they've done. It does give you a lot to reflect upon. But salaries that we are paying right now are less than the average salary in College Station. So it's not like our employees are getting a lot of financial gain. They are getting a good salary, but it's not particularly high. They are doing a great job, which is good, and things have smoothed out. We have adjusted and looked at some of their benefit packages, and we have made some changes to those as far as vacation days. We determined the amount of money it takes monthly for us to exist, which was really good. So some of this we're trying to balance on how to survive and move forward. While we are in a better financial situation, we have things that come up all the time, like the air conditioner, like the ceiling tiles, like the driveway, all of these things and maintenance that have had to be taken care of because the need was great. And a lot of the business office was not in particularly good shape. It was in pretty bad shape, even not having chairs. So basic things. And then, in my experience, it seems like every month or so, some new expense that we have to handle that was not planned in it. We've had to move money around to cover those things. So one of the things that has happened with the separation of the Aussie Times and not providing the Times part of membership is seeing a large increase in the servant memberships. And, you know, people have decided that the regular membership is not as important to them as these service memberships. So one of the things I had thinking will increase that. I'm fine with the $10 for that. There are other ways people can things. We are and had set money aside for, you know, the printing of the Aussie Times, and once that moves forward, we put things out, you know, several different times of the membership, and been very clear that a larger portion of them will receive the Aussie Times. So that's something that, you know, we need to do moving forward. But I do think our costs are going to have to on a number of these items to make the things that the members find important happen. So thanks.
Thank you, David. Jan?
I'm gonna kind of go roundabout in this, but I really want to thank the group that put everything in one place. It's great to have all these numbers in one spreadsheet so that we're not hunting for old spreadsheets and putting things together. So I really appreciate all the hard work to put that together. I just want to mention, because we're talking about communication a little bit with the membership on topics. And I just wanted to bring out that one of our Stock Dog committee members really brought an excellent idea of a way to communicate and give us positive feedback or constructive suggestions if it isn't appropriately done through maybe a different venue. And I don't remember the name of how it was done, but if we could review those comments in that committee, that would be great to help us better serve the members. The lifetime, I don't think we should increase because we just did that. So I would like to see that removed. On removing the lifetime, there are issues with some people have gone to lifetime because of the lack of the reminders. And so we would have to have a reminder system in place when we take that lifetime out. I don't think we can do that before. And now I kind of have a question. The service members' access to the portal, do they need to pay each year to get access to the portal? I know they can show their dog and get their titles, but the access to the portal, David, is that for you?
That's probably that's a Sarah question.
Yes, they do have access, or they do have to have a current membership to access the portal.
Okay, with that in consideration, the larger increase might not be as important to me if they're having to renew, if we're seeing service members renewing on a yearly basis to maintain their place in the portal. I am also very concerned about our finances. I know that we've cut a lot of things, but we've also increased some spending. So I'm a little with Rick that I'm concerned that we're asking a lot of our membership yet again. So I would only be in favor of things that haven't been increased in 15 years. Those items need to be looked at. And going forward, when the Aussie Times comes back into publication, that we are actually paying for all those costs as well. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Jillian, how would you like to proceed?
So I do want to go through each tab because it would be going against what we told the membership that we were going to do tonight. So what we'll go through each tab, and then I would suggest that each of the items, for instance, there's not that many items to look at on tab 1. There's 5 things. We could probably handle that per tab via email, and we need to come up with what is representative of the board's thoughts so that we can have something comprehensive to send to the membership for review. I read as much of the member comments as I can. Just because I don't engage in conversation does not mean that I am not aware of their concerns. And one of the concerns that seems to be overarching is that the board does not thoroughly review things before they send it to the membership. That is what I am trying to attempt to avoid doing here by collecting all this information. So even if we don't want to do that now for the sake of time, I do think that we should do it electronically so that we can then have something that represents the board in these increased suggested columns. Then we can agree on a way to disseminate it to the membership. So if you guys are in agreement with that, then I would like to discuss each tab, because there's the reason Sarah is on this call is there are things that we each respectively learned as we were going through it that we would like to share with the board and give the board the ability to ask questions. That's the benefit to doing it on a call versus electronically. But I'm fine with going through each tab electronically as it relates to each line item, and people can say yes or no, or add their suggestions, and whatever the culmination of that is, we'll put into a draft for the membership review. Does that sound agreeable to everyone? Or shall I just say, if anyone disagrees, then let's talk about that first. Otherwise, we'll just go through each tab very quickly.
I think maybe also the best way to, I've got two thumbs up. If you guys have concerns that need to be voiced this evening while we're all on the call, please do so. Please try to be as concise as possible. Any concerns that you have about a specific line item, please take notes individually and submit those back into our group so that those can be addressed. How does that sound? All right, let's try to move efficiently and effectively. So Jillian, you're back on the floor.
Okay, so we're going to skip the Aussie Times because that's an independent conversation next. So let's go to registry. There's a lot of content in here. You can see that there's a lot of things that have not been touched for a long time. And there are some things that have been increased recently. There are topics in here. As an example, let me get to, I'm going to jump forward. If you look down under individual registry where it says whole litter registration, this is something that Sarah just added today. And Sarah, can you just quickly tell the group what you told me so that I save time from making an error? Oh, Sarah, are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So whole litter registration is when the breeder submits all of the individual registration applications for each puppy out of a litter. They all have to be present and paid for in one lump. And those are the fees per puppy that we charge when they do that. It's a discounted rate.
Okay, and explain to them why you're proposing the increase.
The last time I saw an increase there was in 2007. Back then it was like a $3 per puppy discount. So I think that one could definitely stand to increase.
So if you go through all of these topics, you'll see there's little comments under some of them. If you guys there's a lot here. So if you want to peruse it, just bear in mind that I have on one of these tabs below that says AKC fees. I have them there as a reference so you can see. I'm not suggesting that we try to be equal to that of AKC, but we are a full functioning registry with real needs. And when someone is registering, for instance, a full litter, and it costs almost the same amount of money as an individual registration, there's things out of whack. There's things out of balance. So if you guys will take take some time to go through all of these things. I understand Jan's sentiment about she doesn't want to talk about anything that has been increased within the last 15 years. But I would urge you to take the time to look at all of these items. That's our responsibility as directors to the membership. And some things are not, they're not tracking correctly. Some of the numbers I think were just sort of erroneous. Some of the increases I think were just sort of erroneous. So you can go through each of these. The registry is quite lengthy. Just note at the bottom, the DNA, we don't offer that anymore. So I guess at some point we can remove that. If no one has any questions, I'll go on to programs. All right, so programs. The only thing that we discussed, Sarah and I can't remember if Calla was on the phone, is I don't know that we are at a point where we have enough data to review both AEMD and the recording fee. There's one thing that I want to point out, which I think is important to the membership, because there was such a negative response to the notion of increasing the recording fees. The feedback mostly that I got was from the affiliate level, that ASCA is trying to kill the affiliates. I want to remind everybody that when you are sending ASCA money, we have the recording fee, and then we have the AEMD fee. And the reminder is the AEMD fee is the money that goes into the account, which is for finals. So that is not operating capital. That money does not go to ASCA. That money goes to the finals account. So it is a burden on the affiliates, but we need to make sure that at least the membership is made aware that those are not operating dollars. We can't use that money. So what we're using is only the $1. So when the proposal was to increase it to $1.50, from $1 to $1.50, should that conversation occur in the future, I just wanted to touch on that so everyone would know that it has not changed since 2010. So it's been 14 years since the recording fee has changed. The recording fee is separate from AEMD. And we can have that discussion if the board of directors or individual directors wants to weigh in on that now, great. Otherwise, we can do it via email and see what moves forward. The recording late submission fee is currently $20. And the business office indicates that's where their biggest struggle is getting the submission forms in. That's why we have late results. It's seldom because of what's happening in the business office. It's really more about getting the data to them in a timely fashion, including payment. So Sarah and I discussed some kind of penalty for making the late fee a little more strict or a little more harsh, I guess. I don't know what the right word is for that. But that is the only thing on here that is being suggested for review. Does anybody have any questions, or do you want to weigh in? Because this is a very hot topic. Want the members to hear from you. Now would be a really good time to do it because it's on a recording.
This is Susan. I have no issue with increasing the late fees. They have 15 days from the close of the show to have those results postmarked. Now with the electronic submission of nearly all of the results, there really is no reason that those results cannot be submitted to the office in their completion. And I think one thing that is very important to remember, that is the responsibility of the show/trial secretary to get that information with those results, including the payment, to the business office. And in all honesty, that's an accountability issue, because unless there are some travesty of an event that occurs, there's really no reason that that late fee should be incurred. Thank you.
Anybody else? Sarah, you want to pipe in at all or no?
Yeah, this is David. I would support that because there's been a kind of a constant use of the late fees, and there are some affiliates that have been using it over and over again, and it's been very hard for the business office to process stuff. So it also means people's titles don't get to them in a timely manner, because until everything is in and the check has been paid, they can't work on it. So I would agree with raising that fee.
Thank you, David. Anne.
Related to the recording fees, that as you said, you look on paper and it hasn't been raised in years and years and years. And I put on trials for my affiliate club. We do stock trials, we do agility trials, we do rally and obedience trials. Everything's getting more expensive. We just raised our fees a few years ago and stuff has been okay, but you're talking 50 cents an entry. It's like 50 cents a run. That having an affiliate raise their entry fee $1 to cover it, I really don't know. It's asking too much. I know what it takes to put on a trial. I'm in Southern California. Facilities are horribly expensive. And hotels are very expensive. And so while they say, oh, you're trying to like kill the affiliates, we're asking for 50 cents an entry to help all of the members get their results in and titles mailed and things like that. So I'm not necessarily opposed to that. Since it hasn't been raised in so long, I think it kind of has to be done, and the affiliates raise their fees appropriately or as a result.
Thank you, Anne. Okay, I
Susan,
don't see any other. Yes,
this
Donna.
is Donna. So I am in agreement with Anne. I think that I'm looking at this, and the recording fees have been $1 for 14 years. That's a really long time. 50 cents is not a lot. And I agree, like our club puts on a lot of trials also. We do every, agility, confirmation, rally, obedience, stock. And again, the clubs could raise their fees $1 and it would more than cover that. So I feel like it's time for that. I would not be opposed to the recording fees going up just 50 cents.
Thank you, Donna. Does anyone else have anything they would like to add on this topic of either the recording fees or the late fees? Okay, seeing no one. Jillian?
Okay, so we're going to skip finals and nationals. There's been a lot of increases over the last several years as it relates to nationals, and that plus finals it's a little bit complicated because I have not yet delved into the AEMD research, and I will eventually get to that. But the rest of this, the finals fee as well as the nationals, I believe it would be prudent for us to have the NAC review that before we review it, before we even discuss anything further. So I didn't attempt to touch that. So moving on to the affiliate, the only thing really on here was the renewal fee. Sarah and I discussed, we want to encourage new clubs to form. We don't want to make it so painful. If there is any sort of increase, it would really probably only be for renewals and or the late fees. So that's really just there as sort of like a calculation for you to see what it would look like if we change the renewal fee. I'm not necessarily suggesting it, but it was just so does anybody want to talk about those two? It would be probably not advantageous to increase new formation, but renewal or renewal late fees. Anybody have any input on that? Okay, and then the last page is miscellaneous. So these are really just sort of off the wall little things. And it's really, we didn't make any suggestions or assessments here, but it's really for your reviews. So while I understand this is a lot of data, it's really can be distilled down very quickly as to the things that we think are timely. They haven't been increased for a long time. I will parcel it out and send it to the board one at a time by tab, and we'll go after it that way. And then what is the Rick, did you have a specific idea on how you would like to see, once the board comes up with what we think is a proposal that we would be comfortable with, did you have a suggestion on disseminating the information prior to a motion, or do you want to take the lead on that conversation?
Well, I definitely think before a motion is made that we get membership input. I feel like the board looks silly most of the time because we make a motion, we pass it, then the membership finds out about it, and then we crawfish backwards and we remove the motion. That's just my opinion. Another comment that I wanted to make is I'm not disagreeing that some of these different tabs, the increase needs to be enforced. But just a suggestion is if we increase an item or a tab or a program, however you want to put it, maybe we could freeze that instead of coming back every year and giving a new board the opportunity to increase the fees again on the membership. Maybe we could freeze that for 3 years and then come back and look at it again after that time. Just a suggestion.
No, I think it's a good suggestion. As I mentioned in my email, but I'll mention to the membership, this is a new approach to reviewing fees. It is painful. I'm going to admit that. I took on as much as the pain as I could in advance, but it must be done. And this is the way, just because we review it as a whole does not mean we're going to enact a bunch of increases. We will only enact those that we deem necessary and as a way to balance our expenditures. It's just, I told one affiliate that after she had expressed all of her concerns about the affiliate expenses, I said, now I hear what you're saying. Now take that exact scenario and apply it to ASCA. ASCA is just a bigger boat. That's it. It's that we're still struggling with the same things that affiliates are. We just have more expenditures and more of a liability and a bigger membership to answer to. So I like the idea of freezing it, however we want to, just we can discuss what that means to us. And maybe it's also a way that future boards don't have to waste their time looking at something. But I don't know that we can apply that necessarily across the board, but maybe there are some things that are exempt from that. But I would be totally open to, I'm trying to streamline things where we can for the board, because as a new board member, I can tell you there's a lot of moving parts and pieces, and there's a lot of juggling going on simultaneous, and we're trying to get a body of 9 people to come up with consensus that represents the membership all the while we're all working and volunteering. So I think this is a good thing for ASCA and the board, and I hope the future boards will benefit by it. I'll be on the board for 2 more years, so I'm looking forward to not having to do this, but I think it can be done. And anybody who has other suggestions, the member that Jan referred to, I didn't get a chance to read her post, but I know what you're referring to, so I'll go back and read it. I would just like to know, do you have the mechanics, Rick, of how it's going to happen? So once we get this spreadsheet to a place that represents the consensus of the board, how will we disseminate it? Will we disseminate it as a whole? Will it be a poll? What's your thought on that? Or anyone else that wants to comment?
Well, my opinion is I've just seen this, so there's no way that I could make a suggestion on that.
Well, maybe that's something for the future we can all be thinking of, because it is a real thing that we do need to get it to them. I do want to touch before we move on, because I know we need to move on. I wanted to touch on something that Anne said. Remember, even if we came to a consensus today, and even if we sent it to the membership tomorrow and they all said, we love this, great idea, none of this goes into place until January 1st of 2025. I have already spoken to our webmaster, who is already working with the programmer on the fees and how they are hard-coded, and their estimate for being able to address that is in about 3 months. So I want to make sure that that comment is, I got to kind of debunk it a little bit for the membership. It can happen by January. We have ample time. That's the reason we designed this way. So we discuss it in June. We get it to the membership. We eventually will have increases. If it's not this year, it's going to be next year or the year after, whenever it is. But then it doesn't go, we have until January until it goes into effect. So we are being proactive this way. And I do think it will eventually work to all of our benefit.
Thank you, Jill. Jan, you've got your hand up.
Yes, my suggestion for sending it to the membership is each of those categories that we have made a motion form of what changes we're going to make, and we send it out in the motion process so they can see each of those, or even send it out before it's actually a motion so we can get input and make adjustments. I think then if they know exactly what things we're changing and why, and having a meeting like this is helping everyone to see how we can move forward as a business, and begin to build our bank account so that we can be a little more comfortable if something big comes up that we need to handle. So that would be my suggestion, is definitely separating it, not do it a lump. And that would also give Board of Directors the opportunity, if they felt one area wasn't as needed, to be able to vote against that. So that would be my suggestion at getting it to the members. And we definitely want it to them before we ever vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. And I think that we all are in agreement with that. I also think that once the membership understands the rationale and the justification for why we're looking at some of these increases, hopefully that can help to explain so that they're, they don't feel like they're being blindsided in any way. All right, guys, thank you so much. So everyone needs to make sure that you address each and every one of those concerns on every one of those tabs. And then we need to get that back to all of us as a whole. And we can further discuss that. If no one has any further discussion on this topic, Sarah, is there anything else you would like to say while you have all of our attention?
I love everything everyone had to say and their input. That's very insightful. I really don't have anything else to add. Maybe other than I don't think we touched on charging for the DNA certificates. That is something that wasn't brought up. But we don't have any income related to DNA, and it costs us, money to send out those DNA certificates. So that's something that maybe could be discussed as well. And I wanted to point that out, since that's something new that was sort of proposed in this process. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else to add.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And thank you for all of your work with the other team members on getting this together. And thank you again. And you are free to enjoy the rest of your evening, ma'am.
All righty. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Okie doke. So we're ready to move on to item number 3 with the Aussie Times. And this is by committee with Anne, Jan, and Jillian. So I'm not sure which one of you is the actual spokesperson for this.
Well, I guess it's me because I did most of the research. So it's just easier, I think, for the person who does the research to explain it. But my counterparts, it's been really enjoyable working with them because we don't necessarily always agree on everything, which then gives you a lot of really good perspective. So I'll do my best at trying to explain what we have here. Now this is going with the four editions per year, quarterly. I want to first tell you that I had a very lengthy discussion with our editor. And if you scroll down, we have basically what a quarterly schedule would look like, and the showcase winners and the deadlines and so on. So there's some must-haves in there that she's gone through and said, I've got to have this, I've got to have this, I've got to have that. So that's something that I just added, I don't know, yesterday or today. There are, I'd like to get to her comments first, and then we'll go back up to the numbers. So there is one of the really cool things about having Jenna do her presentation earlier this evening is I think it gives you a very tangible representation of what we are missing in ASCA and what we can look to add to in the Aussie Times is a different perspective, a different, age group, whatever. And so our editor is asking for new columnists, and we've got some aged out folks, and we're looking for some new ones. So that's number one. Something that she shared with me is that she, if I'm not mistaken, she currently represents and does work for 11 different dog magazines. And we were the only ones that she edited for that had 6 editions. She says it's very common that the dog clubs have 4 editions a year, quarterly. The first edition, which is Q1, which is, I guess we're calling it spring. Is that right? Anyway, I don't know why she's calling it spring, but anyway, the Q1 edition, what she is requesting is that once we come to an agreement on some of these things in here, this is going to be neat. We need to sort of fast track this because she's wanting to advertise this in our next online edition, which is August, September. The deadline for that is July 15th. We have a little bit of wiggle room, but she's wanting to advertise for new columnists. She's wanting to like blast that we're going to have this, the ability to have it go to print again, seeking advertisers, things of that nature. So she wanted me to share that. Anne, I think, was the one that came up with the suggestion of doing a article on the new illustrated breed standard and doing an interview of the artist and the content creator. And so our editor is thrilled with that. She would like to start moving forward with, even if she parceled it out in 4 sets, she would have additional content to put in each of these quarters, so on and so forth. So that is representative of the editor, and I want to make sure that I got that in, because I can't remember if I told Anne and Jan the other night. And so that's all there for your consumption. We'll go up first, I guess. We'll start up in the pricing. There's a couple of things there's a lot that needs to occur when you go from 6 editions to 4 editions, and you go from online to print. And so there's questions that we have for the board, and we tried to be a subset of the board the other night. And while we did not have a unanimous vote, we did have a majority vote. And so I'm sure the board will be representative of that as well. There's several questions in here, so we tried to do our best at getting it, on here. So in the beginning, there are some proposed increases as it relates to the shipping rates, shipping and mailing rates. The reality is they've just gone up. And in order for us to cover the cost, these are some of the increases that we need to occur. We are not proposing that we increase the cost of the Aussie Times. It's currently at $35. We were able to give them 6 editions in the past, as we discussed. We've budgeted to be able to give them 4 editions within the $35, so there is no proposed increase. So the next section is really the ad rates. And while it seems straightforward, there's a lot of questions that we have in here. In the green column, those are the current UASA ad rates for the journal. You'll notice that they have both member and service member rates. So they are different. That is different than what we currently have in the Aussie Times. So we are proposing that as a member benefit, as being a full member benefit. What we did was we tried to throw some paint against the wall, and we took the last rates of 2022. We took those rates and we increased them by roughly 25%. We sort of rounded up or down, so it wasn't totally a terrible number. And that's where you have in column C the full rate, the full and service member rates. This is conceptual. Please understand that none of us are married to any of this, but it is what it would look like. In here as well, there are several pieces for your consumption. There is the notion of changing the covers to be saleable, so to be for sale, as opposed to reserved for program winners only. It is an idea for your consumption. There is also an idea that if we kept the covers for sale, we would have the program winners in the first 16 pages of the edition, which would be in color. And if a program winner wanted to opt to pay the difference to be on the cover, there is in pink, column G, that's the winner option. That would be the up fee. So if a program winner wanted to be on the back cover, they could pay $80 additional to be on the back cover, and so on. So that is something for your consumption. I also show in column D what the projected revenue would be if we were able to sell all the parts and pieces for the year. So that would yield an additional $6,300 just for the covers. Let's see, what else did there was a question as to whether or not we wanted to offer a breeder's directory. I understand it's been discussed in the past and that there is a concern that ASCA would be, in a sense, endorsing breeders. But I will tell you, I pay for the breeder thing in UASA every year, and it's $75 a year. And if we could figure out a legal disclaimer on the breeders directory page, then even if only 10 people bought it, that's $750 a year. So that's some potential advertising money. So now let me get to the notes, and then it's a lot, and I don't expect us to get through everybody's comments right now. But as I mentioned, we are going to have to move forward on this fairly quickly in some capacity so that we can get something into the next online edition, so we can start soliciting advertisers, as well as lifetime members or service members. Anybody who wants a Aussie Time in print, if you're not already paying for it, you will need to. So service members would need to convert to lifetime members single full-time members, whatever I'm trying to say, and lifetime members would have to pay their $35. So the notes from the committee, service member and or non-member pricing. So we would like to discuss that. We also are proposing a 10% discount for the first edition, the Q1 2025 edition, for full members only off of the new ad rates. So although we are proposing an increase in ad rates, we would like the first edition to be just fabulous, and we would like to make it a little bit more attainable. So that's that. We need to discuss how we showcase the program winners with the board. And I realize that these things then need to go to the membership. We have to start with the board. Your sentiments on the membership response to losing the covers for free and being converted to full-time or full-page color ads. We don't have enough, we won't have enough covers anymore to represent everything, which is why we said we would give them a full color page ad. Let's see, okay. We're also proposing that we remove from the Aussie Times some of the just sort of informational pages. For instance, the affiliate club listings, the titles, some components of the business office reports, anything that we used to have the standings in the Times, and now they're part of our website as like a quick link. We could do that as well. Why would we do that? Because it's less pages to put into production, and it will cost us less money to then produce it. And it gets us into a better position financially so that we can maintain it being in print. And then the last thing is, we had discussed, we had proposed to the board these 4 editions that would be in print, but we had an exit strategy that should our bank balance drop below a certain dollar amount, that particular edition would not go to print, but it would remain online only. So we need an answer from the board as to, propose that number. What is that number? So that's a lot in one setting. I'm trying to explain what's here. And Anne and Jan, would you guys like to add anything before we open this up for discussion?
Sure, I will. This Anne. Yeah, I think that I'm excited that we can get it back in print, as I have said, and as I have been hoping for, and I think it's true that that we're going to have a lot more ads. And if you look back, the cost of the ad rates for the different pages have actually not increased since 2014. So it's been a lot of time, and can only imagine the increase in printing costs, etc., over those, and that's 10 years. I am on board with the idea of full members pay a discounted price for ads. They pay less than service members, because we looked in the policy book when we were talking, and it just said, like, here are the ad rates, here are the ads. There's nothing for full or there's no difference for full or service members. And as Jillian said, I am interested in member feedback, because right now, for all of the editions that we have, there are certain winners from the program throughout the year that get front covers and back covers. And they obviously will still get their ads. They will get their full page color ad. And so I am interested to see what the membership thinks of that. But otherwise, I'm excited that this is happening. And I think based on just the costs and things like that, that we actually increased not that much from the last time that it was done. So thanks.
This is Jan. It was a great group because we came up with lots of ideas. I think it's going to be difficult for our winners. I don't think you mentioned that it would be in the front portion of the Aussie Times, that's the easiest way to guarantee color. And I don't know if you talked about the center cover, or the center spread is a challenging thing to get. And I know I tried it years ago, and it ended up not being a center because the pages didn't line up with the right number of color and black and white. So that's where those winners would be going, is towards the beginning of the book. And the idea was to make it higher quality with more informational for the members. We searched the policy book, and we did not see that there was a limit to service members versus full members. in fact, there was no member distinction that we saw. So if somebody wants to spot that, that would be great. I think that's all I have. Look forward to other ideas from people of how we could showcase these dogs. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Is there anything else on this right now? Do you have any ideas as to how you wish to recruit some new columnists? Because I think that that is going to be really important. The timeline is approaching very quickly. It's a July 15th deadline for the September-October issue to be online. So that is going to be critical, like you said. And I guess we just put out an all call on Facebook.
Yeah, well, I had thought to be a little more targeted. There's a handful of people that I already had in mind to just approach. And talking to the editor, she was very specific on like the programs in which that need shoring up. So I thought we could also approach each of the respective committees in that regard. And then of course we can do, an all hands on deck. We'll do an ad, but I think the ad in calling for these things can be part of like an exciting, announcement about our moving forward when we get to that point. But we will still need to agree on ad rates and things because that all needs to go into that next online edition. And that's how we're going to need to start hitting up advertisers. And that's something that everyone can do, but we can also add to the sponsorship and fundraising committee's plate.
Agreed. Good ideas. And then just a consideration, has the increased cost of the additional colored pages been included when we're budgeting for the printed version?
Yes,
Thank
all
you.
the estimates include current bids up through the last 2 weeks. Everything is very, very current. We've obtained even the third-party handling company. We have a new quote from them. And so, we're going to be able to do this. I see Rick's hand up, and just 1 second, I'll be sure I want to squeeze this in. In answer to your question, Jan, yes, the showcase winners ads would be within the first 16 pages. And if we are able to reduce the number of informational pages, which are typically black and white, you now have a larger ratio of color pages. If we're successful in selling color pages, we have a very good chance of being able to create that center spread as available. And then Anne came up with the idea of a premier spread, which would be for instance, back cover and opposing page. So there's a lot of things that we can build on, but we kind of have to get started first and see where we go. But Susan, if it's okay, I'll call on Rick because he's had his hand up for a while.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I know I've addressed this, and it appears to me that this was not looked at, or please correct me if I'm wrong, but our editor is tied to one production company. She will not do business with any other production company. So if we choose to go somewhere else for the production, the printing, the quality, the pages, putting the magazine together, and we do not go with her company, then she will not be editor, which I feel like that ASCA's being tied down. I don't feel like this is a cost-effective measure because we are doing the same thing because we've always done it that way. And I strongly felt that we should have looked, not that our editor doesn't do a great job. She does a great job, but there's other editors out there. There's other production companies that put these magazines together that I feel quite sure that could probably save us some money. So I feel like that was not looked at, and I feel like we're just doing it because we've always done. We're comfortable with the way it's always been. We're comfortable with our editor. She writes the rules. She will only work with this one production company, and I just feel like that's bad business for ASCA, but I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
I think that's fair for you to bring it up. We did not discuss that in the Aussie Times committee as of yet. I can only share my sentiment on that is, and I will take a breath before I say this. When the thought process is shared that the membership has bailed out ASCA, first of all, everybody on this call is an ASCA member, so that's all of us included. They are continuing to bail us out because we're not printing that Aussie Times. That was a decision made by a previous board. I was not involved in that. I do not agree that that should continue, which is why we're proposing to get it back into publication in some form that we can afford, and that we will evaluate it as it goes along. And Sarah and I have committed to do a profit and loss statement after each edition for the 2-year term that we have proposed to the board to try to run this, so that we can be very clear with everyone as to whether we're succeeding or failing or coming close, or whether we need to look at other editors, if we need to look at other print houses. I think we owe it to ASCA to give them the exact same quality of magazine or better than what they have been paying for all along. And once we do that and we start evaluating it, that is the time I believe that we will need to see if we need to reduce the quality of the magazine or to go to a more digital editing print house. So I do hear your concerns. It's my personal response is that now is not the time, but it definitely needs to remain on our radar. So I hope that that's an agreeable or understandable position. And I hear what you're saying, and the rest of the Aussie Times committee now does, and the board does. We won't take our eye off the prize, because we've made the proposal to the board, and it is now on us to perform.
Okay, I just want to make it clear, I wasn't criticizing anybody, and I agree we owe it to the membership, but the Aussie Times hadn't been printed in a year and a half. We had plenty of time, or the Aussie Times committee had plenty of time to vet this out.
I will
that's
say
my
that,
issue, but thank you for what you've done. Thank you.
yeah.
Great, thanks, guys. Okay, Jillian, we cannot let this ball drop. And I know you all know that. And thank you guys so much for all of the work that you've put forward in this. And I think whatever you guys need from any of the rest of us, if you need help with something as far as soliciting, writers, if you need help doing any of the things that you all still need to do, if you need to raise a hand for asking for help, please feel free that you can do that. Unless there's something else on this particular topic. I know we haven't really come to any decisions, and I'm not sure there were decisions to be made other than a dissemination of information. So at this point, I'd like for us to go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the short-term disability plan. And Jody, you have that.
Okay, I'm hoping that everybody can pull it up in the files. Let me start by saying one of the reasons we wanted to look at this and add it as a benefit to our employees is because, one, they've never had it. Two, it's a way to cover or to help cover long-term absences instead of having to use vacation and or sick time, and allowing that to build up, which goes back to our PTO, which we can cover later. I'm not an insurance person, so I don't know all of the lingo in here, but basically, let's talk about the elimination period. So it's in the first, well, let's just go down the first column. It's 14 days of being on disability, out of work before the disability can kick in. Then you've got the maximum weekly benefit of, in this example, 13 weeks or 26 weeks. The benefit pays 60% of their salary. Maximum weekly benefit is $1,000. They've got some pre-existing condition exclusions. They've talked about for 7 employees, and if you go down, you're looking at a yearly total, if we go with the 26 weeks, of about $1,300. So the expense in this would be, in this example, $1,300. I can talk more with the specific insurance person to get clarification if anybody has questions on any of this. But I think it's a good benefit to offer our employees at a reasonable rate. Does anybody have any questions?
So just to be clear, the rates quoted there are for the entirety of the staff. That is not an individual quote per employee, correct?
That is correct. That covers all of the employees. That
Hey,
it is
Jody.
not a per.
Jody, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I know you said that we have never had this before. Why was this brought up? Did we have an employee that has requested this? Did our office manager request this? Did a board member request that we start offering short-term disability? I'm just trying to figure out where this topic came from.
I requested it.
Okay, so a board member, correct. Okay, thank you.
I requested it as we were looking at all of the benefits or lack thereof that the employees of ASCA have as a type of retention ability for our employees. We're talking about PTO, we're talking about a retirement account, which I can get into later if you want me to. And we're talking about a short-term disability. Particularly, Rick, this is most effective because we have an office full of women who typically use, not all of them will, but it's a good option for women to use for maternity leave at $1,300 per year. In this particular example, I think it's a good benefit, and I think employees would appreciate it down the road.
Thanks, Jody. Anne, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's really a completely nominal fee. And I mean, if we're able to provide this for $100 a month, I mean, it's for all our employees. I really think that it's not that much money, and if it is a positive added benefit, then I think it's a fine idea. Thanks.
Thank you, Anne. Jerry? Jerry, did I lose you? You're muted. Jerry, you're muted. Unless we just lost you because there are storms in your area. Which that looks like what may have just happened. Maybe she'll be able to call back in. Did anyone else have any concerns or wish to have any comment on this proposed short-term disability option that we would look into offering for our employees? Obviously, if you guys are looking at that spreadsheet, there are multiple options of companies with which can offer these rates. And Jody, did you have a particular company in mind that seemed to be any better in your comparison, or did you have one that you would choose over any of the others?
Thanks, Susan, and I apologize for not mentioning that before. But as you can see, there are several companies that are quoted under this. So we are getting we can see various benefits and pros and cons to each of them. I'm sorry. I would want, my first response is to go with the One America, the 26 weeks. But I would like to talk to Sarah and get her opinion and see if there's something. They all have 60%. They do have a higher $1,500. Of course, that's more expensive towards the end, benefit per week. So I'm leaning towards the One America, 14 days elimination period, 26 weeks of coverage, max 1,000. For approximately $1,300 a month.
A year.
Sorry, yes, a year.
Okay, sorry. And Jerry, I know you're having trouble with your storms. Did you have anything else that you would like to add as you had your hand up before you lost contact?
I will say I am in support of the short-term disability. I think $1,300 a year is like 13 cents, in my opinion, to invest in the business office staff. You have to invest in those people as well if we want good service to our members. And I think this is another option to give them that isn't going to break the bank.
Great, thank you so much. So I think that potentially the best way to move forward on this is to let the membership know that it is our strong consideration to move forward with this at the cost that we're looking at, and bring forth a motion after Jody has had the opportunity to visit with Sarah. Jody?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay.
I can put together not an actual motion, but a writing to put out to the membership so that they get the information, and then we can come back and do a motion depending on the response.
Yes, I think that that's most applicable. Thank you.
Okay. Yep, I'll do it.
Okay, great. All right. To the membership who's listening, this concludes our open session of tonight's meeting. I'd like to thank you all for listening and taking the time to hear what we are discussing, as this is your organization that we are representing. So with that note, I would like to say good night and close the open session of our meeting. Thank you.